Men who have been sexually assaulted by women. What's your story?
She was my friend's mum. There was about 5 of us neighborhood boys who'd go swimming at her son's house. Afterwards she'd make us dry off and walk around in a circle, and she'd hold our testicles and penis as we walked past. We were about 4, 5, 6 of a year old at the time. Was watching the sexual assault scene in The Butterfly Effect when it triggered a flashback. I was 29. I've noticed a lot of people mentioning poor memory as a coping mechanism. I have the worst short-term memory. I've spoken to doctors about medication because it affects my work life and personal life. If I meet you at a party, I still might not remember your name after being told 10 times.
My mom's friend used to roughly jerk me off whenever I was left in her care. I never told my parents because she convinced me the tolerance would make me strong and desirable to girls in the future, and made it a secret between us.
Yo WTF, how old were you?
Grade 6, so I was 11.
Years back my babysitter took me to the bathroom. As I remember she sat on the toilet and used my hand to touch, rub herself. I was 5-ish, at the time. She was a teenage family friend. It only happened once, never became clear what happened till years later. Edit. Thank you for the many well wishes, sincerely. To those that shared their own stories, I'm just speechless and Godspeed.
My sister's friends did the same thing, but they were about 13 and I was 5.
Sort of similar story here but not as drastic. I was 10 and spent the night at a friend's house. He had 2 older sisters 14 and 16. My friend just wanted to play on his PC all night so I was left alone and his sisters really took an interest in me. By bedtime they wanted to play hide and seek but when I hid with the older sister in her closet she took my clothes off and touched me. When we were found they got naked and made me lay between them, on them naked. I really don't remember much. Might have had terrified kid sex and not known it for what it was. There was a lot of horrible poo happening to me at home at the same time, all mental and physical, not sexual, thank God. But I have very poor memory because of it. As an adult I am 200% convinced that family's dad was molesting all 3 kids.
Mom would guilt me into laying in bed with her at night. Would tell me she didn't want to be on this planet anymore and would be leaving soon. Used to make me big spoon and rub up against me. Did that from childhood well into my teenage years. The last time it happened I was 16. She was drunk and rolled over and grabbed my DK. I shoved her off. She got pissed and didn't talk to me the rest of the night. I don't really see her much anymore.
As a child, my brother and sister both sexually molested and RPD'd me. I was about 6 when my brother started, and about 9 or 10 when my sister started. She waited until we had a day off from school, and my parents were at work. She brought me into my parents' room and had me do a lot of things. At one point, she took out a recorder and taped it. Thankfully, that recording has since disappeared. I'm 39 years old now. I am no contact with either of my siblings.
I'm so sorry. Sometimes blood isn't family. I hope you have a chosen family now.
13 Yo stepsister coming into her own. She was sexually abused by father figures earlier in her life, used me as a tester. I was 6 Yo.
Wow, that's super effed up. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Same, but just an older family friend, she 12 to 13, I 5. Made me perform oral on her, mostly. It definitely messed up how I related to girls for the rest of my childhood and teens. I don't blame her now, fairly sure she was also assaulted. Never told anyone ever before now.
My babysitter forced me to watch pee and asked if my penis was hard. I didn't do anything about it.
That's effed up. Did you tell your parents?
I did not. I was probably 6 to 7 years old when it happened.
When I was 5, my babysitter at the time made me strip down and lay on top of her naked body. She was maybe 14 at the time.
Ooh, I feel like her age at the time makes it even worse. 14?
Friend's mother. She was 50-something, we were teenagers. She assaulted at least 4 of us. This was the cool house where you could drink, hang out, etc. For my part, she once pointed a rifle, that I assumed was loaded, at me another kid and told us to wash her dishes. Partway through she reached into my pants and started stroking me. Her husband actually walked into the room during this and when I looked to him he said, "Don't look at me, she's got the gun." I know other friends got a lot worse than I did. She also assaulted the girl who would later be my first adult partner with a vibrator. Her daughter's BF lived with them for a year and I'm pretty sure he got the worst of it. When I was in my early 20s she died of a heart attack and that guy brought a six-pack to my house to tell me. Only time I've toasted to someone's death.
Don't look at me. She's got the gun. WTF.
That's absolutely F-ed. I'm so sorry.
I've had a few seriously unwell ex-partners. One used to just abuse the F out of me for hours till I gave in. There were regular sexual assaults which I dearized. When I went to the police they had me back 13x to get through the statement. I had 140 pages of text message evidence and 2 phone I gave them to collect the evidence from. I've spoken with this woman since. Before her interview the police assured her she wouldn't be charged, it's just a formality. 100% I would have done years in prison if I did all of that to her.
When I was a private in the army, a female friend in my unit became somewhat obsessive over me to the point of being a stalker after I rejected her advances. We had faulty locks on our barracks doors that could be opened with a pair of pliers. She would casually break into my room and wait for me, so we could talk about us. She would normally leave if I told her to, so I didn't think much of it. One night I came home drunk, passed out, and woke up in the middle of the night to her giving me a blowjob. I didn't even know how she got in my room. When I realized what was happening, she attempted to ride me. I pushed her off and told her to leave. My roommate, friends, NCOs, etc., everyone just thought it was hilarious. It didn't really bother me, but I definitely look back and see that it was wrong. Asterisk 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 edit asterisk asterisk. I wanted to thank the several people that have reached out to ask about my personal safety. I am fine. I also wanted to thank everyone else who left a supportive comment. This incident happened when I was stationed in South Korea back in 2006. I was 19 years old. I was also engaged at the time. The vast majority of the guys in my platoon were not getting any action, so they thought I was lucky. I got a lot of comments like, "You should have told her to come to my room if you didn't want her." My squad leader's stance was, "If you're not in jail, it's not my concern." My first line supervisor started referring to me as Romeo. I said it didn't really bother me, but looking back, I realized that I slept on my friend's floor for 3 weeks, until my door was fixed, in an effort to avoid her unwanted late-night visits. That being said, I wasn't ever in any actual physical danger, and I think that's why most people chalked it up as not being that big of a deal. I received several private messages from guys telling that I'm lucky, and to stop complaining about a free blowjob. And there are also several similar comments in this thread. That's the mentality that a lot of guys have, and it's a contributing factor as to why stuff like this isn't taken seriously.
Back in the Air Force we had a woman get posted to our flight. She was an aircraft mechanic, so it made no sense given we were the comms flight in charge of all the navigation aids and ground-to-air radio. Turns out she was dumped on us because she would sexually harass the men in her last place and pressure them for sex. It also turned out we were the 5th or 6th place on base she had been moved to for the same reasons. They would move her to a different office and then wait to see if any more sexual harassment complaints were filed, and then move her on again.
To me, to most F-ed up part it how all your friends laughed. I know you said you didn't really care, but if you did and they just didn't care about it is so F-ed up. Us dudes need to stop the whole being tough poo. It's toxic as hell and can lead to some bad poo.
Didn't feel right sending a girl home late at night, so I let her stay with me in my hotel room. Wasn't planning on her staying that night and didn't really consider having sex with her. Next morning I thought I was dreaming of sex, then started wondering why it was feeling good, then I fully woke up just as I finished internally * without a condom *. I got tested and she was on her period, so unlikely to get pregnant. I thought I dodged some bullets and it was just unexpected sex or something, until I was with a new partner and we were swapping odd sexual encounters or something, and I brought that up and she was like, you are RPD. Which was odd, since until that moment I didn't seriously think of it that way.
It's very common for sexual assault and RP victims to not realize the full scope of what happened to them until they talk about it with someone they trust. People tend to want to blame themselves or downplay it. Also, with men, media and society often treat male victims as a joke or something that can't happen, so we tend to not think of it in those terms.
That and the general view that guys are always receptive to sexual encounters. I don't know. I used to associate RP with a violent and/or traumatic event, and for me it wasn't, but it would be a completely different story if I caught something or she got pregnant. And if I was fully awake and I wanted to end it, I could have easily lifted her off me. But it really made me conscious about consent, not that I wasn't before, but I really was after. Like at least the first sexual encounter, I get the girl to insert me because that's a conscious and voluntary act, because unfortunately I know what it's like to not have that choice.
I got roofied by my ex and she posted the sex tape to P-Hub. I was underage at the time.
I know it doesn't change what happened, but if it's any consolation, that video doesn't exist anymore. About 8 months ago P-Hub did a purge of like 80% of their website. Now only approved users can post videos, and to be approved, you need to be a P-Hub partner. Basically only professional studios now.
It was taken down a while before that.
This is disgusting. I'm so effing sorry. PH has a horrible problem with that poo. I hope you already found peace. People hugging.
Apparently though, men can't be RPD if they live in Idaho, it's just not a thing here. I was pleasantly surprised to know that I actually wasn't RPD when the cops informed me so. I never got to press charges or anything, but she's in jail for murder in Washington now lol, so I got some justice I think.
In middle school, I was forced to move to the front of the bus after a few months. I was told I was in trouble, but she never told me what I did. I asked her once a week, over a few weeks, and she refused to tell me. Then one day, I left gym still dressed in my gym clothes and made it to the bus first. I asked again, and she said because of this, and rubbed me all over, including my crotch. I honestly didn't feel violated. I was more confused because I thought she said I was doing that to someone else. About a year later, it clicked that she just wanted to molest me, so I was vocal about it. I was then pulled into an office and threatened by the principal to stop making stuff up, or I would be punished. I honestly feel more violated that they forced me to hide what happened.
Was it a party? Drunk younger girl kept cornering me and grabbing me. Was awful, but I'm a big guy and she was tiny and I felt terrible because I couldn't push her away. It felt terrible and everyone was laughing at me. Luckily another girl at the party recognized what was happening and saved me.
One of my best female friends came about from a similar situation. Drunk, small, conventionally cute woman kept trying to accost me at a party. I'm large, tattooed, and bearded. There's no way I can defend myself. That looks okay there. Previously, unknown female came up, took my hand and said, "Hey baby, ready to go?" and immediately whispered in my ear, "I'm leaving and I'll walk you out." I honestly could have cried. Every outcome I saw before me that night was scary. She walked me out and we went to get gyros. We bonded over a book series and she's still one of my best friends.
Been in a similar situation. I'm far from a giant, but I owed then and owe now a lot to the girl who got her away from me. I'm sorry it happened to you. It sucks and really messes with your head for a while.
Not as invasive as others here. Throughout school from elementary through high school, girls would play a prank on boys by stealing as much of their clothes as they could. They would literally gang up on one boy, hold him down and try to strip him to his boxes running in all directions. You try to fight back. You're in trouble because boys don't hit girls. Report him to the office. Man up. They're just playing. It wasn't traumatizing, but the double standard was infuriating. Some guys just started swinging and damn the consequences. One time a hall monitor tried to take me to the office after I ran into the girls' bathroom for my pants. I just flipped him off and went running after my shirt.
That's awful.
Yep, same happened. And as for taking off the clothes, they would grope you so they could easily take off your clothes. Guys can't do anything, at most dodge your way out or bear hug them so they won't pull anything out. A pair of girls put their hands inside and asked how it felt, but I was never touched before, so I felt weird and backed off quick. When not consented, it's awkward and feels like abuse.
I was 12. My parents had called a family friend to see if their daughter could watch me for the night. Their daughter couldn't because she had plans. They had decided that one of her friends would be a suitable replacement. Everything was fine when she had arrived at our house. My mom said it was okay if we had left and got ice cream at some point if we wanted to. I really regret pushing for that to happen. Later on, after my parents leave, about an hour or two after me and the babysitter go out and get ice cream. In our town we had a reservoir and the McDonald's we were heading towards was close by to said reservoir. I didn't really think much of it. Her Jeep was cool, and I thought maybe she just wanted to take the longer route. She pulled off into one of the more secluded areas there, asking if her purse was in the back seat and if I could search for it back there. I obliged. That's when she had pushed me into the back seat. I thought that was weird because it was decently rough. She climbs into the back seat, putting her weight onto my chest, taking my arm, and grabs handcuffs out of said purse that was on the floorboard. Cuffs my arm on the handle of the door. I remember it being so tight around my wrist that it burned when I tried to wiggle out of it. She started to do those things to me. I didn't even know why. I kept saying no and crying, screaming for help. It felt like it lasted forever. She was finally done and she took the cuffs off and threatened me that if I ever told anyone about the favor she did for me, she would say I RPD her. She drove back to my house and told me to take a shower before my parents got home. That was 4 nights before I tried to kill myself for the first time. I never came out with it. I didn't think boys could get RPD by girls. I felt more comfortable speaking about it when I was 15, when I started to see my counselor. However, my parents didn't believe it happened when we had family counseling. No one in my family took me seriously. Sometimes my mom asks me questions about it now that I'm 22. However, having sex is a little difficult now. Sometimes if I overthink it, I get a really bad panic attack during. If someone is reading this, don't do what I did. Don't wait to tell someone. Tell someone, please.
When I was a freshman in college, a girl who was friends with my roommate's girlfriend put a half Xanax bar in my drink. I woke up the next morning to her naked in my bed with no recollection of the past 12 hours. I like to think my DK wouldn't have been able to work in that state, but she definitely gave it her best effort. She majored in theology and is now a professor at a Catholic university. My friends gave me poo for the rest of the year. I brushed it off, but to this day I feel nervous around women. I wish I could have done something back then. It still haunts me.
And she is AFing professor. I hope karma hits her.
My older cousin on my mom's side simulated sex with me when we're alone, touched my genitals often, kissed me, and tried to have full intercourse several times. This happened between 8 to 13 years old. I was always scared and nervous when I was alone with her. She made me think it was normal though. I still have problems being romantically intimate with anyone and have never been able to trust someone in that way. I have been in therapy consistently for about 3 years now and have finally been able to unpack and heal from this. Although I originally came to therapy for other things, this part of my life is something that comes up a lot.
I was at a Volbeat gig at the Barrowlands in Glasgow about 5 years ago, and just as the gig finished and everyone started to leave, this woman in her late 30s, I was mid-20s at the time, came up to me and put her hand down my jeans and grabbed my junk and then just walked off. I know it sounds like I just let it happen, but I was very drunk and almost in shock at what had just happened. I just stood for a good minute thinking, WTF just happened there, and then went on my way to get the train home.
We both stayed at a mutual friend's house and were both drunk. She tried to kiss me unprompted when I was just chilling wasted in a chair with my eyes closed. Then she got on top of me and wouldn't get off when I told her to, so I had to throw her off.
Asterisk gets charged for assault and battery. Asterisk.
Party at my place. I was seeing a girl at that time, so I had no intention of anything with this girl. We were both drunk and decided to lay in my bed and chat with clothes on. I must have passed out because sometime later I wake up to her mounted on me, and I was just like OSH*T no, then I climax while pushing her off me. I felt completely humiliated and I know no one would have believed it.
I believe you.
I had an abusive ex-girlfriend who would get blackout drunk and threaten to kill herself if I didn't have sex with her. It was quite common for her to be on top and punch, slap me for having my eyes closed waiting for it to be over, trying to belittle me for not being a man. She was abused as a child and both her parents are addicts, so I assume it was some kind of power thing. It happened 5 or 6 times before I properly resisted and threw her off of me onto the floor. She left to some other guy's house and cried domestic abuse. She had keys to my apartment and they were in the hallway banging on my door, held closed by the chain, yelling for all to hear about the piece of poo I was. I was too scared to call the cops. The next morning she came back apologetic, confessing to have slept with all 3 of these guys the next morning. I played along long enough for her to go to the bathroom. I took my keys out of her purse, suggested we go for breakfast, and left through the kitchen door. I've got a great sex life with a loving partner, but I still cry when I sing The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald or reminisce of my time in Thunder Bay.
She was my babysitter and shamed me into thinking if I told anyone it'd get into trouble. This went on for a couple summers. Edit. Wow, a lot of upvotes. For what happened to her. From what I hear, she got into an abusive relationship and moved to Carolina, not sure which one, with her mom. I hope her nothing but pain and misery and that the devil takes her to hell.
I tell my children that anytime someone tells them not to say anything or they will be in trouble, that they, my kids, are the ones in control, not the person threatening them, and they will be protected if they speak up.
It seems like a lot of people have been wronged by babysitters. As someone that watches children for a living, this absolutely disgusts and horrifies me. I am so terribly sorry for the pain you have gone through.
In the late 90s, I had a girl try to RP me. When I tried to report it, the police actually laughed at me and didn't file a report. It's hard for men because if men fight back and the girl gets injured in any way, the police will never believe the man. He will probably go to jail for assault.
That seems to be the general attitude towards male RP.
That's because people find it hard to believe that men don't want to just stick their DK in anything that moves.
Years ago I went to a girl I was intimate previously house, got trashed, passed out, woke up to her ridding me without protection. When I freaked out, she told me, well, you were passed out and I was horny, like it was fine to do that. For years later people were defending her. I still see her to this day and I'm always reminded of the time she RP'd me, but no one cares or thinks it's RP. Such a double standard for men.
I'm sorry that happened to you. Yes, people do care, and yes, she RP'd you. The people defending her are poo. I hope you heal from this. Heart.
Babysitter in the late 90s, she was mid-20s. I was around 8 to 9 years old. Made all the kids always play hide and seek, and she would make me count with her and force me to finger her and say, just suck on my nipple like you were drinking milk from your mom. This happened for about 2 months, 2 to 3 times a week. I blame her for taking something away from me that I will never get a chose for. This is the first time I have ever talked about this. I have realized I think that the reason I have are extremely high sex drive and weird fetishes, not like poop stuff. I have her to blame for this. It will live for me the rest of my life. This is the first time I have ever told anyone or put this anywhere. Edit. So after waking up to like thousands of comments and so many awards and likes, I grabbed my balls and woke my wife up and told her. I effing broke down and cried so hard and told her everything. Thank you so much, Reddit. Out of all the messages and comments I told her. I don't know how she is taking to it, but goddamn, it feels great to get that off my chest. I told her that I've been tempted to kill myself with how it's been eating at me, and Reddit helped. I showed her all the kind words of support. Much love to everyone.
Greater than, not like poop stuff. Glad you clarified. But seriously, this is F-ed.
Proud of you.
I deleted this about 10 times before posting.
I was DGED and RPD by an older girl when I was 12. She was 15, and I don't know what she slipped me, but I basically couldn't move or act, but was half conscious. I was slipping in and out. I'm assuming a roofie. She was acting all loving the entire time that I was conscious, and it F-ed my sex life and any chance of intimacy for basically my entire life after that point. I've done enough therapy that I feel I can try again, and after I get fit, I'm going to go out and make up for lost time. No one in my family knows about this, and for the few people I've told, half were considerate of me, at least on the outside, and the other half thought it wasn't a big deal or actively made fun of it to my face when I told them. Edit. There's so much positivity and understanding in my replies and throughout the post in general. There's a few people who are trying to turn it into a joke, as is expected on a post about men being sexually assaulted, depressingly, but almost everyone is so supportive. I just wanted to let you know that men that have gone through this basically never get this much love and understanding about what happened, and the fact that you're doing that makes you a genuinely good person. From the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Thank you for watching. We upload new videos every day, so be sure to come back for more fun. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video.